Hello YouTube viewers, hope you're all doing good and welcome to this video series. Right, so I've planned to do a video series on monitoring solutions, IT infrastructure monitoring solutions. So I thought of doing a video series on CheckMK, which is a nice monitoring tool. And this series, so this is going to be the first video of the series. I've planned to do about 8 to 10 videos in this series. It's not a massive topic, but everything is going to be a very short video, about 15 to 20 minutes, and it will be 8 to 10 videos. So I'll be releasing the videos in this series once every week on Mondays. So again, welcome to this video series. Okay, so what I'll be doing in this video series is talk about I'll basically introduce you to OMD, which is Open Monitoring Distribution, and CheckMK. So CheckMK is a monitoring solution which is built on top of Nagios. So most of you might have used Nagios for your infrastructure monitoring. If you've used Nagios, you might have noticed there are a lot of front ends for Nagios because the Nagios core itself, it gives you a web interface which looks a bit outdated. All the configurations are done through the configuration files, editing the files. If you want to add a new host to the monitoring, or if you want to change the service that's monitored on every host, you go into the file system, edit the files, reload Nagios. So that's how you used to do. And there are Nagios front ends that you can use the web UI to make your changes. But this one, CheckMK, comes bundled with the web interface as well. So it's built on top of Nagios. So underlying its Nagios core, it's used. And all the basic features, all the features that are available in Nagios are available in CheckMK. And on top of it, it comes with a nice web UI where you can make changes to any part of the system, any part of your monitoring infrastructure. It's called the WATU tool, Web Administration Tool. So it's a nice interface, and stick with me for throughout the series, and you'll learn this CheckMK tool. This is a very nice tool. Okay, let me bring up my notes here. So what I'll be talking in this series is about, basically I'm going to start with the installation. So installation, uninstallation, I'll talk about sites. One aspect of CheckMK is that you can have multiple monitoring instances on a single server. So it's just basically a simple server. You install it and you can add multiple instances of CheckMK running on the same server. The instances are called sites in CheckMK. So sites, how to create a site, how to delete it, how to copy a site from one CheckMK server to another server, how you can do a regular backup of your data, CheckMK data, history and everything. And in case of corruption or damage, then how can you restore your site details? How about installing the agent on the client machines? How you can extend the service checks using the built-in CheckMK plugins, or how about writing your own custom checks? If you have used Nagios, you might have known about NRPE. So for CheckMK, it's called MRPE, and there's also MKP files. I'll come to that when I do the video on that part. Authentication, how you can use LDAP or Active Directory for user authentication. Grouping, how can you group different hosts and services using host groups, service groups, and defining notifications, defining contact groups, who should get notified, and so on. So basically, touching all the features of Nagios CheckMK in this video series. Okay, so what I'll be using in terms of infrastructure is, throughout this series, I'll be using these four virtual machines. So I've got a host machine. This host machine is running Manjaro Linux, which is Arch based, and I'm using VirtualBox as the hypervisor, and Vagrant for provisioning these virtual machines. So I've got a couple of CentOS 7 machines and a couple of Ubuntu 18.04 machines. So basically, I'll show you how you can install CheckMK on CentOS 7, or for Ubuntu lovers, how you can install it on Ubuntu. And when it comes to configuring the client side, I'll take one each, CentOS 7 and Ubuntu 18. Um, Use Vagrant for provisioning, and everything will be in my GitHub repository, which will be in the description if you want it. Or you don't have to stick with the Vagrant file. Or if you've got your own virtual machines, or if you've got your own physical servers, you're free to try in that. If you wanted to follow this tutorial, if you want to spin up all the 4 VMs at once, you might need enough RAM in your host machine. So I've got 16 gig RAM on my laptop here. So I've configured one CPU and 2 gig RAM for each of those 4 virtual machines. So if you want to start all the 4 virtual machines for testing, you must be having at least 8 gig of RAM on top of whatever your laptop, your host machine is using. So about 10 gig. If you don't find it, feel free to edit my Vagrant file and change the RAM specification from 2 gig to 1 gig. So that's okay if you want to change that. Right, that's enough talking. And in this video, this is about the installation. Um, so CheckMK, a quick introduction. So CheckMK is built on top of Nagios Core, got a nice web interface. Everything is managed from the web interface, and if you want to manage sites, the command line is OMD, Open Monitoring Distribution. So when you install CheckMK, you can then use the OMD command line. I'll show you how we could do that. And I've hard-coded the IP address 172.42.42.221 for CentOS VM01, CentOS VM02. So these are the machine names. 222 for CentOS VM02, and for Ubuntu VM01 and 02, it's 211 and 212. So all these IP addresses are baked in the virtual machine in etc hosts file as part of Vagrant provisioning. And if you're using your own virtual machines or your own physical servers, make sure you either you have a DNS in your environment, or just update the etc hosts file on all these 4 machines so that they can talk to each other via names instead of IP address. So that makes our life a lot easier. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. So first, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and install CheckMK on CentOS 7 machine. So I'm going to power up CentOS VM01. I'll show you how to install it, and then I'll uninstall it. I'll show you how you can uninstall it, uninstall OMD, and then I'll show you how we can use Ubuntu 18.04 for CheckMK. I'll show you how you can install and uninstall. Probably I won't show you how to uninstall because I need to keep that for my next video. Right, and for this first video alone, I'll be using CheckMK. This is to show you how to install CheckMK on CentOS as well as on Ubuntu. But from my next video onwards, I'll be using CheckMK server on Ubuntu 18.04. So when I install Ubuntu CheckMK on Ubuntu 18.04, I'm going to keep that without uninstalling because I need to use that for all my future videos. Okay, once that's done, my next video will be about managing sites, managing multiple monitoring instances, how you can monitor the instance, how you can create new instance, how you can start it, accessing it, basically all sorts of things about managing your sites, how to backup, restore, how to copy, how to move from one CheckMK server to migrate your site's data from one CheckMK server to another one. Okay, so the business here for this video is about installation on these 2 virtual machines. So going back to my terminal here, as usual, I'm going to cd to play directory, and this is where I do all my demo stuff. I'm gonna git clone my GitHub repository. It will be in the description. Git clone https github.com slash just me and open source slash omd monitoring cd to omd monitoring and then to vagrant provisioning. So I've got my vagrant file here. If you take a look at this file, let me close one pane. vi vagrant file. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using the VirtualBox provider for vagrant, and node count is 2, so it's going to go into this loop and create 2 virtual machines from the Ubuntu Bionic, which is Ubuntu 18.04 private network. So this is where I set the IP address, and in the VirtualBox provider I set the memory to be 2 gig and 1 CPU. And similarly for the CentOS 7 VMs, 1 dot dot node count, so which is 2 VMs of CentOS 7, and the IP address is here with 2 gig memory and 1 CPU. So for all these 4 machines, I'll use a shell provisioner to set up some settings after the machine has been provisioned. I'll show you what the file is. vi bootstrap.shell. It's a very simple one. I'm just updating the etc host file to include all these 4 machines IP address. Okay, so let me bring up my first CentOS machine. You don't have to bring up all the machine. If you do vagrant up, it will bring up all the 4 virtual machines. But for this demo, first I'm going to bring up CentOS VM01. CentOS VM01. So it will take about a minute because I've already downloaded the CentOS 7 box. It's just bringing up the box now. And if you haven't done that before, the first time it's going to take a little while because it needs to download the box. Okay, the box is up now. So as you can see here, it has provisioned the etc host file. Let's try and log into this VM. Vagrant SSH CentOS VM01. Okay, if I do lsb now cat etc red hat release, it's CentOS 7.6. Okay, let's try and install checkmk. So the requirements are you need to have Python installed on your machine. So by default, Python is available. Python is installed. If you check the version 2.7.5, so checkmk doesn't support Python 3 yet, and it supports Python version 2.3 and above, and not Python 3. So since we've got Python 2.7.5, that's one requirement that's satisfied. The other requirement is OpenSSL. Let's check if you've got that. rpm -qa grep OpenSSL. So we have OpenSSL version 1.0 installed. So that should be sufficient. And the final thing that's required is the EPEL repository, extra packages for enterprise Linux, EPEL. Because when you install the checkmk, it's going to install lots and lots of dependencies, as you will see now. And lots of dependencies are available in the EPEL repository and not on the official CentOS repository. So we need to enable the EPEL repository. For that, you do sudo yum install EPEL release. Okay, that's installed. So now we are good to install checkmk. So I'm going to go to my browser, checkmk. So the first one .de is the German version, and I'm going to go to the English version. Although I know German, I can't. No, it's better to go with the English version. Go to the download section, and there are 3 editions: the raw edition, enterprise edition, and the managed services edition. So the raw edition is the open source one. Enterprise edition, it requires a subscription, same as the managed service edition. So let's go with the stable one, which is 1.5.0. And they've got the installers for various distributions: Debian, for various Debian versions, Ubuntu from 14 to 18, for SUSE Linux, Red Hat CentOS. They've also got a Docker image, so I'll be doing a video on that as well, how to install a CheckMK, how to run your CheckMK server on a Docker image. So I'll come to that in one of my video in this series. Okay, so for now we'll go with the Red Hat CentOS 7. Right click, copy the link address. I'm going to, I don't, okay, I don't have wget, so sudo yum install wget. So once that's installed, we're going to download the file. So I've already copied the link address. You're going to download the RPM file from the CheckMK website and do wget, paste the URL. So that's the RPM file. Okay, I've downloaded the RPM file, and now let's install it. Sudo m install checkmk ls. Okay, sudo yum install checkmk. I don't know why tab completion is not working. Raw 1.5. Let's put a star at the end. Okay, so as you can see, that's lots of dependencies. It's going to download 161 packages. Total size is 553 meg. Okay, and I'm gonna hit Y and hit enter. Okay, checkmk is installed with all the dependencies, and now you should have the omd command line. Okay, so that's there, omd help, omd version. So open monitoring distribution version 1.5.0, that's there. omd help. There are lots of commands that you can do. Start, stop, create, backup, restore. I'll explore all these commands in my next video, but this is how you install omd. But if you're on CentOS 7 and if you've got SE Linux enabled, so I think I've got SE Linux enabled. Yep, the current mode is enforcing, SE Linux is enabled. So there's one thing that you need to do. Although you don't have to do at this point, you definitely have to do this before accessing your instance. Once you create an instance, which I'll be doing in my next video, so you won't be able to access your instance in a web browser unless you change a boolean in your SE Linux. So sudo get se bool -a grep httpd. So the boolean I'm looking for is this one, httpd can network connect is at the moment set to off. You need to turn that boolean on. So let me copy that one, httpd can network connect. And you have to turn on that boolean, otherwise if you don't fancy SE Linux, you can feel free to disable SE Linux, but if you want to have SE Linux, then this is the only requirement. So you just need to turn on this boolean and you should be good to go. So let's turn on that. Sudo set se bool httpd can network connect to 1, and if you want to make it permanent, you have to put -p. So once that's set, we can check that variable again to see whether it has done the right thing. Sudo get se bool httpd can network connect. Yeah, that's set to on now. That's okay. And on the checkmk server, you only need to open the firewall port for port 80, the HTTP port, because this is where your web server is going to run. Let's check. Sudo systemctl status firewall d. Okay, so firewall is disabled. I'm not running firewall on my virtual machine here. But if you're running firewall, you need to make sure to open the port 80 on your firewall. So let's start it, and I'll show you how you can do that. Sudo systemctl start firewall d, sudo firewall cmd minus minus list all. So at the moment, the only service allowed is SSH on port 22 and DHCP client. So let's add the HTTP port to the firewall. Sudo firewall cmd minus minus permanent minus minus add service HTTP. So that's success, but that's not going to take effect now. It's going to take effect when you reboot it. You made that permanent rule, but to take effect immediately, you have to reload the firewall. Minus minus reload, that's done. And if I do firewall cmd minus minus list all, and you can see the HTTP service. Okay, cool. On the CentOS part, those are the steps that's required to install checkmk. Um, okay, now let's try and uninstall it. So basically, you're doing everything in the reverse order. You're going to set the SE bool to 0 if you want, and sudo history info. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you is when you install checkmk, all the files are going to get installed under /opt/omd, and /omd will be a symlink to /opt/omd. Let's check if that's the case. ls-l/opt. So you've got the opt omd, and you've got the sites. So when you install checkmk as part of the dependency, it will install Apache, Perl, PHP 7, Zinetd, and loads of other Perl modules and packages. So every single monitoring instance, every single site has its own Apache configuration. It's going to start its own Apache processes in addition to the system's Apache process. Okay, so that's opt/omd. So that's where the files gets installed when you install checkmk. And if I do ls/omd, and you can see /omd is a symlink to /opt/omd, like here. Okay, sudo let's try and uninstall checkmk. Sudo history list, damn, history list, erase. Let's look at the ID4. Sudo history info 4. Okay, and if I scroll up, I'm looking for the command line. So command line is install checkmk. So that's the command that we use to install. And this is a cool feature in CentOS 7. And if you do sudo remove or erase checkmk, it's going to uninstall just that checkmk package. rpm -qa grep checkmk. So that's there. Sudo remove. If I copy that and paste that, it's going to just remove that package alone, but it install 161 dependent packages. That's not going to be removed. So in CentOS 7, there's a easy way to look at the history list and look at the individual entries. So we found that ID4 was the one. So if you want to remove all the packages, it's sudo history undo 4. So whatever you did as part of this transaction, it will be reversed. Sudo history undo 4. Confirm with pressing Y, and it's erasing all the packages that got installed. But what I wanted to check is whether it has removed the opt omd. No, it still has it. Minus L slash omd. No, it still has it. So what I'm going to do is sudo rm minus rf slash opt omd slash omd. Okay, cool. So that's how you install checkmk and you uninstall checkmk on CentOS 7 virtual machine. Okay, I'm going to destroy this virtual machine. CentOS VM01, and I will show you now how to install checkmk on Ubuntu 18.04. So that's going to be less painful. It's not as involved as in CentOS 7. Um, let's bring up that virtual machine. Vagrant up Ubuntu VM01. Again, I've got the Ubuntu 18.04 box downloaded. So if you are running this Vagrant up command for the first time, it's going to download the box from Vagrant. Okay, the virtual machine should be up. Let's try and log into it. Vagrant SSH Ubuntu VM01. Let me clear the screen. LSB release. So you can see it's 18.04. And the first thing I'm going to do is update the cache. Sudo apt-get update. And meanwhile, we'll go back to the web browser and download the Debian package for 18.04. Right click and copy the link address. Back in the terminal, we're going to use GDB tool to install this package. So for that, we need to install GDB. Which GDB? Sorry, which GDB? So we don't have it, so we need to install that first. Sudo apt-get install GDB core. So the advantage of you installing the package using GDB is that it will install, when you install checkmk, it will help us install all the dependent packages as well. Okay, wget and the Debian file. So we are downloading the version 1.5.0 from the checkmk website for Ubuntu 18.04, the Debian package. Right, the Debian package has been downloaded. Now we can do sudo gdb and checkmk. So as in CentOS, it's gonna install all the dependencies, the Apache, PHP, Perl, Zynid, and all. Gonna confirm by pressing Y. Right, checkmk is installed now. Which OMD, and you've got there OMD version. Open monitoring distribution version 1.5.0 OMD help. Okay, cool. So we've got everything here. ls minus l opt. So we've got OMD there. Slash OMD. You've got the Apache sites and so on. ls minus l slash OMD. And that's a symlink to opt OMD. Okay, cool. And that's all I wanted to show you guys in this video. So this video is just about the introduction of the series and the installation bit, how to install and how to uninstall checkmk on CentOS 7 and Ubuntu 18.04. Cool. And if you've got any questions or any comments or any issues following this video, just leave me a comment. I should be able to respond to you. And I'll be recording the next video shortly, and I'll be uploading it the following week, Monday. If you find this video useful, please like it and please share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so that you get notified when I upload new videos, not just for this series. And I've got multiple series going in parallel. So if you liked it, please subscribe to my channel, and I should be able to go on with more motivation actually. Okay, and thank you so much for your time watching this video today, and I will see you in my next video. And hopefully in my next video I will cover the management of sites, installing, creating sites, migrating, backing up, restore, and so on. So I need some time to prepare all these. I need to play with it. I need to understand, learn it from the official website. I need to play with it thoroughly before making a video so that I should be able to respond to your queries. Okay, and thank you so much again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.